You've seen the houses, you've seen the price tags, and you've probably wondered, how do people even afford to build such homes? And I get it. The dream of building your own house, can be quite exciting for many. But when you start thinking about the finances, it can be quite overwhelming. I've been there. I remember before we started building, I'd hear of all these figures, being thrown around, and my heart would skip a beat. But the truth is, there's actually more than one way of funding your home build in South Africa. And some of the options you might not even know exist. So I want you to listen closely today as I'm going to break down some of the financing options available to you when you build your home, the pros, the cons, and I'll try to tie in some examples from my own journey as well and that of my friends so that you can see what is possible. So as we go through this, I really just want you to reflect, which option would you go for? And if you're not yet ready to build, which one would you prepare for? Hello guys, hello YouTube family. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another video. If you are new here, my name is Bitumelo Mtiani, and on this channel I am documenting our real raw journey of building our dream home right here in South Africa. So if that is the kind of content that you do enjoy, please click that red subscribe button, please like my videos, and please make sure that you always leave a comment. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get into this interesting video. Please do enjoy. So let's start with the most common one, which is a building loan from the bank. And here's how it works. You apply to the bank with your building plans, your approved drawings, NHBRC enrollment, and a full bill of quantities. Once they approve, they don't give you the full money upfront. Instead, the bank releases it in stages. These are called progress payments. So after your foundation is done and inspected, they release the next payment and so on. The pros of using this financing route is that you don't need the full amount upfront. It keeps you on track because they inspect at each stage. It gives you a lump sum to work with for each phase. However, please note that this will be given to your contractor. The cons are that you can pay interest from day one. You have to follow the bank's rules because you can't just decide to change plans midway without approval. And then if you run over budget, the bank won't just give you more. You need to cover the shortfalls yourself. So my personal take on this is it's an expensive option. It's an expensive option and it is not one that I would go for, but this is just for me. Before we started building, we considered, going for a building loan, but I then also realized that, you know what, you end up paying more in the long run for interest. I'm not saying it's bad. For some people, this is the only way. But really, I really feel that if you go for this option, you have to be very disciplined. And for me, when I looked at it, there were much more cons, of going this route for me than there were pros. And I really cannot see myself paying 65,000 rands in bond repayments for the next 20 years. So really, for me, this was not an option because it felt like the most expensive option at the time. So that is why we just decided, you know what, let's just start building with our own money and see how far it takes us. But if this is the financing route that you've chosen, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. You know what, if you feel it benefits you and your family, by all means. So if you already own a house and you've been paying it off, you might have access to something called an access bond or re-advance. So what this does is it allows you to re-borrow the money that you have already paid off. And then you can use this money to maybe fund your build. For example, if your bond is 1 million and you've already paid off 400,000, you can apply to the bank to borrow back the 400,000 at your existing home loan rates. And then you can then use that money to probably fund your build. The advantages of this financing route is that the interest rates are much lower than that of personal loans, and you don't need to go through a brand new loan process, and it is faster to access if your bank approves. The disadvantages or the cons are that you are putting your current home at risk if you can't pay, and you're also increasing your bond term again. So I know a couple that used this financing route, but what they did is they desperately needed a new kitchen. Like their kitchen was really, really, really falling apart. So they applied for money that they've already paid off. So they built their dream kitchen, and then they added what we call a granny flat at the bank because they've got a huge yard. So they added a granny flat and then they rented it out immediately. So they then used the money from the rental to cover the new repayment. So yeah, this financing option can work for you depending what you're gonna use the money for, and really if you are gonna be able to cover the new installment. This one is a big one for me because it is one that many people do not even think of. Guys, it is important for you to check if your company offers housing finance as a benefit. Some companies have in-house lending facilities or partnerships with the bank. The company that I also work for has got an in-house loaning company that offers employees, loans at much, much better interest than what you would get at the banks. So I've been speaking to this lady that recently reached out to me, and she told me that she works for a bank. And she told me that as part of their benefits, they get home loans at prime minus 2.5. You know how big that is? That is massive, guys. So you need to make sure that you go and speak with your HR so that if there is such a benefit at your workplace, you don't miss out on it. So if your company offers this, please take advantage of this. Even a small percentage difference, in interest can save you thousands of rands, over the life of a loan. So it's worth it to go and ask HR where you work if they have, this type of benefits. Because, even if you're not ready to build now, knowing something like this, could change your plans. Pension-backed lending is one that surprises a lot of people. So if you've got a pension or a provident fund, some funds allow you to borrow against it for housing purposes. So most of the time, the loan is still facilitated via the bank. It's just that your pension or your provident fund stands as security. This is why it is referred to as pension-backed lending. So the advantage of this type of lending is that the approval is much easier compared to unsecured lending. And then sometimes they offer flexible repayment terms. And the biggest con here is if you leave your job before repaying, the balance might be deducted from your payout. So I actually know of somebody that built their entire rural home this way, as they did not want to take on expensive debt. So they applied for a pension-backed loan and built their home, and they were still able to pay off the loan within 5 years, and their fund continued to grow. So I'm a trustee of a provident fund, and we also have this facility within our fund. So what we did is we partnered with a bank to offer our members a pension-backed home loan at prime minus 1.5. That is quite big. So how it works within our fund is you can apply for up to 60% of the value of your pension fund or your provident fund. So if you've got 1 million rands, you can apply for up to 600,000 rands. But this money can only be used for housing purposes. So for buying a house or for building or for renovating. So no money is withdrawn from your fund because this is still a loan. The only difference is that your pension now stands as security, against that loan, like I said previously. I've actually seen people, get approved and were able to fund the entire home build. And this is such a beautiful thing to witness because they are then able to build without the high cost of traditional loans and at much better interest rates. I know of a couple that saved up money to build their dream home. So they were able to build their home until they ran out of money. But at this point, they were already at roof level. So the husband applied for a pension-backed loan, and they could use that money, to complete their home, and they moved into their home. So this is a benefit that you might have, with your pension fund, and you might not even be aware of it. So for the right person and for the right reasons, this type of financing can really be a game changer in making your dream home, a reality. Selling your assets to fund your home build. Guys, sometimes the fastest way to raise funds is to sell something you already own. So please don't overlook the assets that you already have. Examples of assets that you can sell are a second property, selling a car you don't really need, or cashing in on certain investments. I told you in one of my previous videos that friends of ours decided to sell their townhouse, mid-project to finish their dream home. That townhouse, was their plan B from the start. It is a big decision, but it was worth it for them. So this is what we've done, build in stages with your own money as it comes. The beauty of this approach is there is no interest, no monthly repayments, no pressure. But the downside is that it can take longer. So if you can handle the patience, you'll really save thousands of rands just in interest alone. So for us, this was really worth it because we did not want the pressure of a bond. But like I said, it does mean, a lot of patience and the discipline to keep saving. So plot and plan financing is almost like buying a package deal. The land and the house plans come together from a developer or a builder. You sign one contract for the plot and another for the building, but the financing is linked. The bank pays for the plot first and then releases the money to the builder as work progresses. Interest is usually charged only on the portion that's been paid out so far, which can save you money while construction is ongoing. This type of financing is popular in estates or developments where the builder is already approved and the plans are pre-approved by the HOA or the municipality. So there are other creative financing options which I'm going to touch on, but I'm not going to go too much into detail on. And those are personal loans, which are quicker to access, but just remember, personal loans come at higher interests. And then you get your government subsidy programs like your FLISP subsidy if you qualify. I know that these are usually for first-time home buyers earning between 3,501 and 22,000 per month and can be used for building or buying, but it must be linked to a home loan. And then in some provinces, municipalities have schemes to help residents acquire land or housing at subsidized rates. And then there's developer finances where some developer offer payment terms or rent to own models. So as you can see, guys, there's no single way, to fund a home build. Some options are faster, but they're more expensive in the long run. Some options require patience, but they save you money. I think the most important thing is to be realistic. Plan for the unexpected and choose a funding route that won't put you under unbearable pressure. And I want to leave you with this today. The word of God says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. So commit your plans to Him. Work with wisdom and save with discipline. And when the challenges come, because they will, just remember that God's provision never runs dry. Your dream home isn't just a structure, it is a testimony in the making. So go ahead, take that step, trust the process, and see what happens when faith meets action. So until next time, guys, keep building, keep believing, and let God be the foundation of it all. If you've already built, please share with us how you funded your project because your story might just inspire someone else. I love you guys. Oh, and for next week, I will be sharing builder codes for the Pretoria area. There are two ladies that have been so nice and have shared their builder codes with me. So I will be doing a video on that so that you can see what builders in the Pretoria area are charging. So please do look out for that video. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Keep well, guys. Love you so much. Bye.